I should say my name and clap hands.
Clap.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
We're good.
Hands up in front of the face. Oh, wait. Sorry, our audio guy.
Me?
Yeah. Perfect. All right,
I missed my clap.
I'm recording. One more time. Clap.
Great.
All right, I'm ready. Perfect.
All right, yeah. My name is Evan Gray Davis. I'm a documentary filmmaker. Jeez.
I don't know. I mean, there's so much to tell. I'm 40 years old, so, you know, to tell you about myself, we could be here for a while.
I'm 35. I'm a college counselor and a teacher and a mom, and I live in Tucson, but I'm primarily from Cleveland, Ohio.
Hello, my name is Robert Earl Longley, and I'm originally from New Orleans. Now I live here in beautiful Bisbee.
I'm originally from New England, so I miss weather. I love my dog a weird amount, and I don't know, I just bought a house here with my husband, who is often gone because he's in the military, so he travels a lot. And I love to read. I hate to run, but I do it because it's easy. I don't know, what else do you want to know?
I moved here when I was 29, and now I'm 34, and it's really been just a journey for 4 years. I started my pursuit as an artist here, and voila, now I've got a frame shop and a 1.5-year-old daughter and a cat, and we know just about everybody in town. Sort of find myself as an artist, and I feel like I was able to do that. Some of my artwork I started by interviewing pets and the people that they come with.
I am a relatively new writer, and I am just taking inspiration by everything that I've been seeing in my travels, and then people that I've been meeting on the streets. And I took a free writing class a while back where we had writing prompts where we would choose a word from a pile of cutout papers and then write on that. So I kind of just thought I would ask the people passing by if they wanted to give me a word so I can muse upon that and then give them a little something back.
My name is Richard Bird, and BYRD. I've lived in Bisbee since 1978, and I've been a photographer my entire life, since I was 8 years old. As a kid, I had this fantasy that if I had a camera, I could take pictures of Elvis Presley. So 1956 Christmas, I got a black plastic box called a Kodak Brownie Hawkeye. That's how I got to photography, because of Elvis fantasy. I'm having dinner one night, this man comes up and says, Rick, your grandmother tells me that you're a really good photographer, and one of our disc jockeys from our radio station, WISH, he's going to MC a Beatles concert in Chicago, and we'd love to have photographs of him with the Beatles. So could we fly you there to do photographs of our disc jockey with the Beatles? I've been in photography with a real camera less than 2 months, but I wasn't going to turn that down. So I flew to Chicago, to the Chicago Stockyard Stadiums where the concert was, and but the disc jockey never showed up. I talked to a Beatles manager who was not Brian Epstein, because he was not allowed into the country because he'd been busted in England on drug charges. So they had a different road manager. He said, well, that's really too bad, but you know, I've used some pictures of the boys performing live. Why don't you just come with us for a few days? Well, who could turn that down? To be with the Beatles for a few days. So I was with them in Chicago, Detroit, and Cleveland. I shot 15 rolls of film, color and black and white. I kept two for myself. I sold them 13 rolls. And they asked me what I wanted. I said, well, $50 a roll, which to me was big money. So I made $750 photographing the Beatles, but I never saw it, because I made the mistake of playing poker with John Lennon, where I lost it all.
This actually was my my ex's name underneath this cover up, the one that took advantage of me. I got it covered up and I was literally crying when he covered it up because I was so ecstatic that I got over that moment. This he actually did on me because we were supposed to get married, and Mehndi in India and different religions and stuff is the symbol of marriage, so I need to get it covered up. But owl is my spirit animal. My mom and I are very close because she's all that I've ever had in my life. She's always been the constant. And she said, put it in ghetto letters because we're Mexican. And I'm like, okay. And then this is my warrior. I got this because I was actually able to conquer and get my own apartment. And, you know, getting rid of judgment. They told me, actually today, I found out that my friend passed away from an overdose about a couple days ago. And I'm sorry. I actually found out this morning. And today I got told that my apartments that I picked were extremely ugly and that it was next to a bar. So that way it was terrible by my current boyfriend's parents. And I mean, my guard was already, you know, down, so I was just in a really, really bad spot anyway. But having this on me kind of just gives me a nice mental boost that allows me to, you know, say, well, I'm strong. And, you know, I won't allow judgment to interfere with what I worked for so hard, you know, for so long. And
I was born in total darkness. They couldn't even have lights or nothing, 2 candles. And I was born there, but in the meantime, the Japs had come to the estate, and my sister and dad were there. My sister was, I think, a teenager, and they took them both to work in their fields, or I don't know what they had to do. But one fine day, the Japs got to know, I think, that there was somebody living in the house. So, and they were just killing all the little kids, the babies, killing the newborns, so that they could get the mother to work for them. You know, they came to the estate and they saw my mom with the baby, and they wanted, you know, as usual, this man, this soldier, took me, you know, just grabbed me from my mom's arms, and he was about to chop my head off, and he saw the gold chain with a little cross that my aunt had put around me, you know. And he was, I think, religious a little bit, because mom says, his hands were like shivering, and he didn't know what to do. He couldn't raise the knife to cut my head off. So he kissed the cross and gave me back to, you know, put me back in arms, and, you know, he just left.
My name is Robert Lee. I'm 36 years old at this point. I'm a physics teacher. I guess that's a bigger story for me, is that, you know, being in physics, my mind is spinning and working and always thinking of how to solve problems. You know, that's what I'm trained in, solve problems. That becomes a problem in its own right, because when there's not a problem to solve, well, what does the mind do? It wants to create a problem so that it can solve it. I mean, that's what I'm trained to do. So it's interesting to try to live with that and balance it. And I think in my life, I seek out quietness and solitude to remove that from my mind, that analytic, constant thinking process and churning. You know, I'm constantly trying to understand the world. That's always on my mind. I mean, it's obsessive almost, trying to get some understanding there. And I think that that science and physics as the base science has at least some kernel of truth to it. You know, and it certainly doesn't capture everything, but I think that at least is a starting point to inform me of my view. And, you know, I like that it's a little bizarre, really. You know, at the deepest level, it's really weird. It's not cut and dry like maybe as it comes across to those who maybe just get a taste of science. And I think that's very interesting. And I think we're going to see even more and more unusual things as time goes on.
I'm not sure what my greatest struggle is.
Greatest struggle right now? Finding enough time for the music. There just never seems to be enough time. There could be 48 hours in a day, still would not be enough. I'm a songwriting machine. You know, I can hear 2 words, a short phrase, a little piece of a melody, and I'm off and running.
At the end of my day, I'm all out of give. And so it can be hard to carve out time for myself in any way, shape, or form. So probably my biggest struggle is making sure that I do that, and also understanding the necessity of that, because sometimes I'm just like, but why? Why do I need me time, really? I can just keep going and going and going.
Balancing all that I have on my plate. You know, I have so much to be grateful for, and it's been such a fruitful life, but it is an intense day trying to open up the store and keep my daughter not just happy, but you know, in the world that she needs to be in too, and doing right by us.
Literally, I came from an interview earlier today where it's like you can either pick learning and pick knowledge versus more money. And I'm like, dang, like, should I go for it? Should I go for the money? Everybody is pointing me like, go for the money, but I'd be leaving friendships behind. I'd be leaving a great mentor behind. And so that's a big struggle for me, trying to find out whether it's worth it or not.
I'm partnering up with the pit bull rescue called Soul Dog. They have foster pit bulls. And my students are beginning to go and help train, be with dogs, because I feel like if you can control a big dog like a Nick, you can control any situation. And so I feel like some of those skills then could be later be transferred off to their lives. Because, for example, you can control a dog like a Nick or any pit bull or any bully breed. You cannot do it by yelling or hitting. You have to develop your own way to communicate, and also you really have to be able to hold your ground, hold your space.
Well, like any artist, paying the bills, and just staying on top of everything like that. Keep the whole house of cards from falling down. So that's probably just like any artist. That's the biggest factor, is just trying to earn enough money to keep doing what you want to do.
Well, my greatest struggle right now is actually my greatest blessing, because I've been given the opportunity to travel and be taken out of my comfort zone. So my struggle was to kind of overcome the, kind of hamster wheel of society that I had been caught up in back home. And sometimes I get a little homesick because I'm not around my familiar surroundings, but I'm also a very adventurous spirit, and I love meeting new people. So just putting myself out there, has just been such a great blessing, even though sometimes I do get a little homesick.
I think for me, is finding purity of expression, complete artistic freedom without being influenced by record companies or A&R people or the music business. Very difficult to do in this age, because everything's driven by money, or sales. And I'm not interested in any of that. I'm just interested in expressing music with emotional content more than anything else, and composing that way too. So I don't want to be pigeonholed in put into a category or a box or a bin at a record store. I might do flamenco style music, but then I might do a rock song next week.
I'm at a stage in my life where I really want to tell stories that are really meaningful to me. I spent a lot of years telling stories that naturally had an agenda packed in. It was for an organization that was promoting their work, or to raise money, or for a product or a service or a corporation, and in each of those stories had an agenda, had a message forced into it. And right now I'm really wanting to tell stories that have an authenticity, a level of authenticity that doesn't so much have an agenda, but just really almost practicing my art of documentary storytelling without those dynamics. And it's a real challenge, obviously. How do you monetize that? How do you, there's that age-old challenge. You want to do something really authentic and real, but the reality is how are you going to fund that? How are you going to pay for that?
I think it's been the same struggle, you know, forgetting the job, forgetting those daily trivial struggles. I think for me, I'm thinking about the idea of self-actualization. Am I expressing my true self? You know, whatever that is. Who am I truly? I think that's the question I struggle with. You know, should I be a little bit different in the way I interact with people? You know, or you know, those questions I ask myself. Should I be a teacher? Really, is this allowing myself, I guess, to be as happy as I possibly can be? I think that's, you know, the overriding goal, I think, for me in life is happiness. How do we find happiness? Whatever that means to us individually. And certainly I don't think we can stay in that state. We oscillate about it somehow. But yeah, that's definitely my struggle. So what does that mean for me in terms of friendships? Do I have to give up friendships because it's not allowing me to grow? You know, those friends that I've known for so long are really, you know, it's no longer we're having good, fruitful interactions and growing together, but rather stagnating. Maybe in deeper relationships, girlfriends, family, you know, those kinds of things. I think that is a struggle for me. You know, I wish at times, I guess I had more bliss that I could just kind of flow with it and just say whatever comes, comes. But, you know, it's that analytic mind, I think, that comes back and tries to fit these interactions into some text. The text of Lee, you know, my story. And, you know, how do I want to write out my story? What does that look like?
Finding work. That's the greatest struggle. Got so many talents, so many things you can do, but nobody wants a almost 50-year-old man to work for them. They want young people. So that's the biggest life struggle. Everything else is easy. The way people look at us, the way people perceive us, they have in their minds what they think or what people tell them, but it's not what it is. We're just regular people struggling just like anybody else. And people tend to forget that. They see their lives and they said, oh, well, if we can do it, you can do it. It's not so easy like that. Some of us, you know, have records, which society, we pay our debt by going to jail, but then when we come out, we're still getting punished. And that's hard. That's part of life's struggle, though, but I don't know how long they're going to plan on punishing people for serving time. You know, it's crazy.
It's a good question. You know, when we have struggles, how do each of us deal with it, you know? What are the ways we get through life? I wonder if I don't help my students with that enough, you know? We're so stuck on the academic here. How do we deal with those? Yeah, I mean, be prepared to fail and make mistakes. You know, I know that. But I think you just have to feel the pain. You know? For me, that's it, I guess. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I want to know the answer. Can I ask that to somebody? I don't know the answer. I still don't know.
One happy moment. That's difficult as well. Well, you have some tough questions. Happy moment. Probably after spending many years in Los Angeles playing music, probably just going home to New Orleans and seeing my family. That's always every time I do that, I'm so happy to be there and be around my family, you know, brothers, sisters, nephews. That's happy for me. Yeah.
Living in India. I lived in India for 3 months in 2008, and I grew really, very deeply, quickly attached to it, and actually had trouble leaving. I had trouble coming back to the States. Strange. I didn't miss America as much as I missed India when I came back. I don't think I ever felt lonely even for like a minute, which is unusual. Growing up in New York, I think we are usually very lonely and alienated. But you never, with the sense of community that India offers, you never have a minute to feel alienated or out of place in any way. And I was quite out of place, just so far as how different I looked from everyone else there. But it was a great love and kindness. So yeah, I connected very deeply with it.
This is weird. As you know, my daughter has like crazy curly hair, and her first full sentence was, "Please don't touch my hair." Actually, it was, "Don't touch my hair," and then I reminded her she needed to say please. And I was so happy that she had will. Like, she demonstrates will over and over and over again, and the willingness to kind of say what she wants and what she wants from you and what she wants to do and her opinion. And I think one of the things that terrified me about raising a girl was that she wouldn't be that way, that she would be quiet or passive. And so when that came out of her mouth, and it truly was like her first full sentence, I was proud that like she had the confidence to do that, that she was going to be that kind of girl, which she is very much so.
Damn. I know it's gonna sound cheesy, but I think just having like a positive partner like Kiki by my side. He also helps with my students, so he's a substitute in my school, and I think it's important for my students to see like different ways of how a positive partner can impact your life. You know, it doesn't have to be like the gender norms that like, you know, like the woman stays home and cleans and all that. Well, you know, the man brings home the bacon. And so I just think overall just having like a solid partner by your side that can help you, that you're not that person's shadow and that person's not your shadow, but that, you know, you can both create new things together, and you know, he really brings out the best in me and nurtures me. I think that's one of my happiest moments, I guess. Beat that. I'm just kidding.
The day I got married to my wife of 17 years. Really great day. We had an evening wedding that was at sunset in the Tucson Botanical Gardens. Just magical.
I'm supposed to say the day I got married, which was a pretty happy day. Happiest moment. I don't know if it's the happiest, but some of my proudest moments are when I do things alone. Like when I moved to Hong Kong and I lived there for the summer, the first day that I took myself out and I ordered my own food and I went on my own self-guided tour of the city, I was ecstatic because I was in a place where I didn't know anything and I didn't know anyone, and I was by myself and I was okay. Same thing happened when I moved to China. The first time that I went to Europe and I actually walked around by myself. Like, those are things that really, they make me proud, and so in essence really happy. If you're talking emotional, then yeah, it's gonna be my wedding day. It was a dumbly happy day. My face hurt the next day, so. But then every day after that is just as happy, so it's hard to say.
I was much younger and much stupider. My priorities were different. I was younger. All I cared about was chasing tits and ass left and right. I found this girl. She was great, and we moved in together, and it was phenomenal. She was like my soulmate, and things changed. I started to feel a change in myself where I wasn't happy with where I was at. And that's how that ended. But during that 2-year period we were living together, I've never been happier. We were dirt poor, super broke. We were sleeping on an eggshell, like crappy, like foam thing in some dingy apartment. But I love this person to death, and I still do. So, you know, I still try to keep in touch with her and make sure she's doing okay. But that was the happiest couple years of my life, was when I was with her. I found true love.
When she was 2.5, there was a thunderstorm going on outside of our house, and it was shaking the house, and I knew she had woken up, but she hadn't called for me yet. So I went in her room, and she was under her sheet, but she was fine, and she was sitting there like this. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I got scared, so I'm counting the people who love me." And I was like, "Oh, okay." She said, "I'm fine. I've got 9 people so far."
Oh, the happiest moment of my life. Oh. I don't think I can say that on camera. It's a hard one because you got a lot of happy moments. You know, I think that we try to sustain happiness more so of just trying to find the moments. But the moments are nice. But the second happiest moment, see, you got me thinking about it because I lived a long time so far and I still got a lot to go. So I guess back when I was in high school swimming, there was nothing like it, being on the team, winning, just everybody together.
I don't think I have a happiest moment, like a big fat happy moment. I think I have little moments that are connected by that space in between, but little moments with your kids, with your parents, with your family, with the kids at school, with being in nature, or just taking those little times to notice how beautiful things are when most of the time they aren't.
How can you ask a poet what the saddest moment of their life was? No. Oh man, I mean, there's a ton of moments that have been challenges, but in the end, I think like overcoming these moments has made me a stronger person, a stronger poet, a stronger friend. So, there's moments happen to everyone that are sad, but like I think that after the grief kind of passes, you can be empowered by overcoming it.
Saddest moment of my life. That's a good one. I haven't had a whole lot of like super sad moments. I'm not a sad person generally. Like I don't think I experience that emotion a lot. What comes to mind is probably I taught kindergarten for half a year, and mid-year there was a little boy who just needed so much love, and mid-year they sat down with all the kids and told them that I would be transitioning to 4th grade, and he sat on my lap and he cried and cried and cried, and it was heartbreaking, and there's nothing I could do to make it better, and he just didn't understand, and like it was hard. Like I've never forgotten that.
Probably the day I lost my grandfather. He was very important to our family, and you lose people you love and they're with you, they're part of you, but you go through that grief.
I don't know what the saddest moment is. Loss. I can imagine my saddest moments in the future, like what are going to be my saddest moments. And I've empathized on friends for their saddest moments, but I don't know that I can conjure my own.
It's one summer in July, and it was July 4th. Fireworks went off that day, and I could no longer hold back what was in my heart, and I knew we had to go our own way. That broke my heart, I think, more than hers. I really struggled with that for months. Yeah, that really hurt. So that was a difficult time for me. It's difficult for me to say goodbye. So I think I usually just don't do it. That's kind of sad.
When I was a kid, I was attacked and I didn't tell anybody, and then so you kind of live with that huge sense of shame, I guess, and I don't have forgiveness. I don't feel the need to forgive. I feel like I can get on with my life and I have a good, happy life without having to grant anybody forgiveness. That's not mine to give. That's between them and whatever they chose to do. But I'm not forgiving them. Fuck that. I'm not doing it.
I still haven't done that yet. I still haven't forgiven yet on that one. When the cut's deep, it's kind of hard to forgive sometimes. You want to, but it still hurts. So, It's hard.
I was going to Tucson. I had my first flat tire. I was on I-10 off in the emergency lane, getting my spare tire out of the back of my Toyota station wagon when another car came off the freeway, hit me and threw me 30 feet into the desert, 9:30 at night. And I didn't come to until 2 months later in Tucson Medical Center in the ER section of the hospital. And nobody at the hospital was allowed to tell me why I was there for some psychological reason. It wasn't until I was in the recovery ward that I knew why I was in the hospital. But they changed my life totally. It altered what I was in every way.
I spent too many years trying to emulate other people, trying to produce films the way other people would, trying to tell the story the way someone else would, because of my lack of confidence in myself, because of the sense that there's so many other people out there that are better at this than I am. If I could just do it the way they do it, then I'll be successful. And if there's one thing I'm learning during this season of my life is I'm a unique person with unique experiences. I grew up in a family that my parents were kind of hippie gypsy do-gooders. We traveled in a 8-foot by 40-foot trailer with 6 people all over the country, and my parents just served people. They helped people get out of drug addiction and back on their feet after homelessness, and that it was a life of poverty, but yet it was also a life of real service, and that's part of what formed me into who I am. I think one of my biggest regrets is not learning that earlier in life, instead of emulating the way other people do things and trying to be like other people that are successful. Just trusting who I am and trusting the way I would approach telling a story, the kinds of stories I might be passionate about, and maybe earlier in life taking the risks and setting out on a more authentic journey for me.
I think I'd rather remain those to be private, but yeah, I think just in general, like we all experience sad times of varying, calibers and whatnot. So, but yeah.
They're all things we do when we're younger that we look back and say, why did I do that? But I not really, because I look at the things that I did make up my life. The pain you go through, the learning you go through, it makes you what you are, gives you your character. So I'd probably do pretty much everything I did again, because that's who I was at that time in my life. It's not that you don't think about things and go, oh, why did I do that? Ooh. But you're the sum of everything you've done and everything you've learned.
If I was going to tell a key story from my life, I would naturally choose documentary. That's just the way I love to tell stories. It gives you the ability to capture a story visually and with all of the sounds and all of the qualities of the story and put it together. I prefer documentary over narrative film, because narrative film you can create a story and craft it and have it acted out realistically. But to me, a documentary treatment of a story is more authentic. You're really capturing the story in more of a real way. So yeah, I would definitely create a documentary of it.
Music. I'd probably pick some of my favorite songs and things and play them on either trumpet, or which is my instrument, or just get a collage and put them together. And because music is universal and it's transcendent, and it doesn't matter how educated or uneducated you are, it doesn't matter where you come from, it'll touch everybody. It's kind of a universal way to communicate. That's what I choose.
I would probably write a kid's book, which would be weird because if it was my whole life, it wouldn't necessarily be a children's book. But I picture my life as a story, and so I think it would need to be told as such. And for me, a kid's book is always read aloud. So I'm getting everything that matters to me. I'm getting the presentation and the vocals and the intonation, but I'm also getting images that I create from either pictures that I've taken or that I've drawn.
Well, that's going to be such a difficult one for me. Yeah, I'd write a song.
Definitely a book. I think a book would be awesome. I think it leaves it more to interpretation. While I can appreciate film is awesome, I think that leaving that mystery and letting people use their imagination to fill in the gaps is kind of important. So I would just definitely choose writing a book, which someday I might do eventually myself. So.
I'd like to think it would be a book, but I certainly couldn't put it together. Somebody else would have to do it. After being around books all of my life, most of my life, I just see any attempt I might make would be, in comparison, very poor to some of the lovely things I've seen written.
I would write. I'm not a fiction writer. My fiction sucks, but I'm probably an essayist more than anything, so it would be writing. And then I would bury it and let people find it in like 150 years.
If I would do symbolism, I would do symbolistic like pictures or artistic drawings or something like that, because I feel like that would be like the best way. If you really want to understand my life, don't judge right off the bat, you know, really look into it.
I've always thought about writing a book, but wouldn't doing a painting be kind of neat, or a mural of your timeline of life? So I'll go with that one, a mural. It'd be an interesting answer.
Probably with handmade cameras and pinhole images where you have that slow amount of time getting to the film. So even though it's a still image, it's showing some sort of passage of time. I'm really interested in that and how it relates to memory. I think that would be an interesting way. It may be a little esoteric and not very wouldn't immediately connect to people, but I think that's the way I would do it.
Boy, that's an interesting question. I think for me, what I do is I tell my story orally. You know, I mean, maybe that's not quite what you're looking for, but I think, you know, I don't make movies, and I used to write a bit, even poetry, but, you know, I talk to people, you know, and I do tell my story somewhat, like I'm telling you here right now, you know, little bits and pieces here and there. So I guess that would be my medium. The old, you know, the medium of the bard. Just some oral tradition, I don't know.
No, I would tell them the truth. I would tell them exactly how my life was and the things I did wrong so they wouldn't do it. The people I was around, good, bad, the situations, you know, they need to look out for. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things out here, just certain things that they need to watch out for. Try to make sure they stay, don't do the things that I did. Just don't go the places that I went to. So if you tell your story, you tell your life story, the truth, the honest, right out there, you can see where somebody came from. You see where they are. And it's nice to try to help somebody that not go that same route. Because I can see things when people start doing things because I did them. And I know where it's going to go. So if I can try to give you advice to get away from that particular point, then I did my job.
The instrumental music that I compose is very bittersweet. And I find life very bittersweet. You know, so it's a constant struggle of beauty and ugliness, dissonance and harmony, and you try to put those elements together and make a cohesive musical statement out of it. And I think if you hit the mark, you can really say a lot, and not even use any words, just the music itself.
When I think of things that are happy, it all kind of connects back to that fact that we're all connected. So whenever I can remember that or connect to that feeling that we're all kind of in this together, I think those are happy moments.